Hi everyone, my name is Chantay, aka Chantay Z, on Twitter, Instagram, and just simply Chantay Berry. So I am here with a recap of my Instagram live show called Chantay's Analysis. You can follow me on Instagram for more content, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, or like this video here on my Twitter, or Periscope. So here we are. So I am going to come to you today with the coronavirus. As you can see the hashtags there. I have an agenda also always listed every day of what I talk about. So here we are. So globally for the coronavirus, and these numbers come from the Johns Hopkins website, we are at 20,764,220. We have been on 20 million, probably less than a month, probably like almost 2 weeks now, and we're about to be at 21 million across the globe. So that's 188 countries. Here in the U.S., the cases here is 5,248,172. Yikes. Uh, with our death toll sitting at 167,092. So we just had 1,500 deaths yesterday. So that's where we are. The countries with the top cases, Brazil is at 3,164,785, followed by India at 2,396,637. Russia, 905,762. South Africa, 572,865. Excuse me. Mexico, 505,751. Peru, 498,555. Colombia, 422,519. And Chile, 380,034. Within some of these Latin countries, Ecuador is at 98,343, followed by DR at 83,134, Panama 78,446, Guatemala 60,284, Honduras 48,657, and El Salvador 21,993. And the African nations, we have Nigeria 48,116, Ghana 41,725, Kenya 28,754, Cameroon 18,308, Senegal 11,740, and Gambia 1,556. In the West Indies, we have Haiti at 7,781. Jamaica didn't catch the number, but it's at 1,100, over 1,100. Bahamas, 1,089. Guyana, 631. Trinidad and Tobago, 404. Belize, 296. Barbados, 144. Antigua, 92. While St. Vincent stay at 57. St. Lucia still at 25. Grenada at 24. Dominica at 18. And St. Kitts still at 17. And then we have in the counties in the U.S. But before I get to those counties, which is on the Johns Hopkins website, I want to shift over to what's on the New York Times COVID map for the actual states individually. So California has 602,725, followed by Florida, 557,129, Texas, 535,861, New York, which was the epicenter of all of this whole thing, 428,155, Georgia, 212,009, Illinois, 202,577, Arizona, 190,823, New Jersey, 188,433, North Carolina, 141,006, LA, 135,562, and South Carolina is at 103,909. Now, within these counties, Los Angeles has over 214,000, Miami 139,000 ain't over. Maricopa over 127,000. Cook County at 113,000. Harris County over 88,000, and Queens, which was the epicenter of all of this thing, is at 68,155. And of course, there's no national testing implemented and no national strategy to combat this thing. Donald Trump consistently have these daily briefings, which they are like almost like campaign attack mode, because it is an election year this year, and not just a presidential election year, but it's also state offices, including state local positions, and also congressional seats in the House and in the Senate. So Donald Trump is on full campaign mode, and most of the briefing was attacking Biden and Harris based on, their strategy to combat the coronavirus, saying how Joe Biden is denied the science, which we all know that's not true. He's been wearing a mask before Donald Trump wore a mask. He said he denied the travel ban, which I haven't heard that from his mouth. It's not true. Dr. Fauci agrees with agrees with him. Trump agrees with him. That's not true, because if so, Fauci would be at these briefings, which it's very concerning for American folks who actually believes in science, like myself, even though I am not a scientist, but I believe in that science, in the science that this is a serious global pandemic. This is worse than influenza, from what we're told. This has an economic ripple effect. This has a whole bunch of other effects within our education system. It affects every piece of everything. When you can't solve the public health crisis, you can't solve the economic crisis, the education crisis, and the Affordable Housing Act crisis. You can't solve no crisis without solving the public health crisis, because health requires human life and the environment. So there you have it. But Donald Trump went on a consistent rant, on and on and on. He was asked about, the mail-in voting. He kept lying about it, withholding money, which he's been open about it, but he's still lying about it, saying that mail-in voting is different from absentee voting, which is all the same damn thing. Do not believe, and it's so sad, and I have to tell everybody this, do not believe what the President of the United States, Donald John Trump, says out of his mouth, because it's a complete and utter bullshit ass lie. And that is, I'm going to round it out with, because I'm not going to go either further with his bullshit nor Kayleigh McEnany's bullshit, because it's all straight up bullshit. This whole Middle East peace deal, it's a piece of shit, because the Palestinians are criticizing it. We still have a whole war in Iraq, and there's still a war in Yemen, and that's not being reported. And our American soldiers are being killed by the Taliban, along with our British ally soldiers as well. So once again, do not believe what the White House occupant, Donald John Trump, says out of his mouth. Period. Now going into the briefing of Biden and Harris. They held their first coronavirus briefing. Joe Biden has sounded the alarm and said that the governors, the whole entire state, the country, should be wearing a mask for 3 months straight. And something should have been done earlier, which is true, because something should have been done. Donald Trump said Joe Biden ignored the signs. The Obama and Biden administration left a 69-page pandemic playbook for you guys, and you guys shelved it, along with the CDC guidelines from your administration. You shelved it as well. So that's straight up bullshit. All of it. Each and every last one of it. Just some straight up bullshit. And also what was said in here. There's going to be and I wrote it down on a sticky note or on a piece of paper. And it said here, what did she say? That they're creating a pandemic testing board, which will employ 100,000 Americans to do contact tracing, because we don't have no contact tracing. When I say we have no national strategy, it includes this. It includes this. This whole entire thing. It includes this. This is what's going on. And we all need to pay attention to this. And she said, as the election is coming up, and this also stuck out to me, ask the current occupant of the White House when I'm going to get vaccinated. When I'm actually going to get vaccinated. And that's what the question. When we're going to get vaccinated. I don't trust this new vaccine that's going to come out fast. I'm waiting for a vaccine to be well developed testing trial, not this fast-paced rush thing that Donald Trump is doing. No. I want a real testing that will not affect Americans, that will not just be any drug. Because that's what I feel like this administration is doing. That's all I'm saying. But this is where we are. So folks who claim that I don't like this ticket, this is not my ideal ticket. As I said in my Instagram live, there was a whole primary. Some of you folks that live in those states where you had early primaries, you could have took your fucking ass to that primary. And I'm speaking to people 35 and under because that's my crew. I'm 34 years old. I made 34 in April. You had a whole time to go to these primaries to vote if your state was the early states, and you stood your ass home. If you wanted Bernie Sanders, if you wanted Elizabeth Warren, you could have took your ass to the polls if your state had that one of the early states that had voting, and you didn't. So you end up with Biden. Was he everybody's ideal candidate? Absolutely not. When he was making his choices for vice president, it was a lot of women of different nationalities. Some of you guys wanted Elizabeth Warren. That's your prerogative. My first choice got picked. I had only two. I had Kamala and Stacey. People are like, why you put Stacey as second? Because she's another one that could possibly have a good relationship with Biden. But Kamala was always number one. And I'm going to say this. I unequivocally support Kamala Harris. Kamala Debbie Harris was my first choice for president. And she was my first choice for VP. And I got my first choice. So if a bot want to criticize, that's fine. Because I'm not giving you no airtime. I'm not giving you the time of day. And we're not going to converse. And I don't do that back and forth shit because I'm not a Twitter activist. I am a whole ass real life person. If you have a problem, want to meet up with me, that's fine. I live in New York City. You can social distance me because I don't want your ass touching me. That's all I'm saying. Period. But yeah, that's what we have. Now I just want to cover this last thing. Hold on for a second. I got a text. Okay. So, if you saw the Democracy Now interview with Nikki Solis and Laura Beslan, you have to see it. Laura Beslan, you guys know, she was the one that said Kamala Harris was not a progressive prosecutor, not a progressive prosecutor. Um, New York Times op-ed last year, which is the reason why Kamala Harris has all the smears and all the dragging, and people actually believed in an opinion article with no facts cited, versus the public defender who worked with Kamala Harris, who opposed her at first but ended up working with her, which is Nikki Solis. I don't know if I pronounced her name wrong. I'm sorry, Miss Nikki. I do apologize. Basically said that Laura Beslan's whole article was a complete demonstrable lie. And she also lived in San Francisco. They both live in San Francisco, but Nikki actually worked with Kamala Harris. Opposed, opposites at first, but end up working together. And she said Kamala Harris was a progressive prosecutor. So just a little snippet that I got from this thing. When asked about the death penalty, Nikki said Kamala Harris opposed the death penalty. Her predecessor, which was Terrence Hallam, prosecuted the last death penalty case in San Francisco. People kept saying he was more progressive. I just didn't get it. And that's why she had to speak out. She felt compelled, like she said in her article, to speak out. And said what surprised me that this whole spin on her record that she's not progressive was just ludicrous to her. And it was ludicrous. And just a little source that I looked up on San Francisco Gate, which is a local newspaper in San Francisco, Terrence Hallam acknowledged, this is a snippet in the paragraph, that there was nothing he could do about the execution of Robert Lee Massif, who was basically in and out of jail for probably most of his life. And this was in particular to robbing and murdering the San Francisco liquor store owner back in 1979. So this guy was executed March 27, 2001. Kamala Harris was not the DA until 2004. So this guy here, in particular, Terrence Hallam, said he couldn't do nothing about the death penalty, but he was progressive. Progressives would actually be like, hell no, what fought the judge tooth and nail, kind of, sort of. So that's what Nikki was trying to say. And after Nikki said that and said something about the crime unit scandal and how she established a unit within that, Laura Beslan had nothing to say. She basically just let Nikki basically destroyed her. Yeah, I would too. After lying, why lie? And why would you believe the word of a white woman? And I'm sorry to say that, but a white woman who don't even know how to do real journalism, because real journalism will cite the sources in their article, and she didn't. And when I read it twice before, I knew it was kind of a lie. But then when I read the article after the Tulsi debate and it was fact checked, I was like, oh yeah, Laura's a liar. So that's why I encourage people to do your research. But just to end this little night thing that I do, just be aware, be vigilant, and do more of your research before you spew and say some dumb shit out of your mouth. But until then, have a good night.